Welcome to Roundy's Rants, Raves, and Reviews. We're excited to have with us Julia Pearce. And Julia, will you tell us about yourself and who you are and what you do?
Yes, I am thrilled to be here. My name is Julia Pearce. I live in the West Jordan area out here, almost to the Okers. I am an author and a writer, a podcaster, speaker, do all the things. What I love to do is get on the mountains that I'm surrounded by. I also love to eat chocolate every day. I love to play games, listen to music, and be around humans. That's a little bit about me.
I love that you would like to be around humans. Sometimes that's hard, right? Especially in today's world. And that's one thing that being an author, I've had to get back to doing and getting around people and stuff. When you've
Yeah.
been with students all day for several years, it just adults are a different world.
Yes, they are for sure. Yeah.
Right. Awesome. Well, what is your message? What is it that you try to share with the world? What is it that you like to talk about and deal with when writing or talking?
Yeah. What I love to talk about is resilience, which is not what other people, they kind of roll their eyes and pull a shoulder back like they're going to come forward with a little fist. But resilience to me is when you've come through something gnarly and hard, or something has slammed you, like the boulder or a big old pine tree, and then you come up under it. And then you're left with this world of, man, that was tough. And then you stood up again. So resilience is that thing that none of us like, because that means you've come through that stuff. And yet for me, it also brings you joy, because if you've been smashed, then you also know how to come up again. And the way that I have found that is through the life of our son. Is that's who what I've written about. And he's the one who taught me this, because he would be ill and have ongoing things happening to him, and then he would pop up again and be ready to go get a balloon or go get his favorite, just worst food in the world, which was a Dorito or a chip that would just leave messes everywhere. But he loved it. And it was those extended illnesses, those extended things in his life. And then he would pop up like a daisy. And his resilience, his tenacity, his audaciousness of living with such joy after surviving just brought me this wonderment and this wowness of the world. And wowness actually is not a word, but it can be if you're a writer, because then you get to choose it all. That's what I love to speak about and share.
I love that idea because resilience, it's a lost art. There's it's so many kids nowadays, they don't know how to face difficult things. Just being stressed out in some slight way or being asked to try something new can send them into anxiety attacks, and they don't have any coping mechanisms, and they've never had to really face anything hard. And when they're asked to, it's frightening anyway, but it seems to just petrify them. And uh, as a teacher, I'd love to know, and as a parent, how do we help teach that? How do we help our kids understand that this idea of resilience and helping them to gain that?
So I have sat with that, and I love the question, because I would watch our son and no one told him he couldn't, except for one time. And it was after he had survived an illness when he was 2 years old. And the doctors stood around his crib. He was in the hospital, and they stood around his crib and they said, "We don't know if he's ever going to walk again." He had lost all of his skills. And then he looked at them from the corner of his eye with this little glint, a glimmer of, we'll see. And he was barely surviving this massive illness at the time. The next day, he got up, climbed out of the crib, and began walking again after having lost all of his ability to not only walk, but sit up or hold his head up or hold anything in his hand. And all of a sudden, he climbed out of the crib. And from that point on, no one said to him, "You can't." So, what if we did that? What if we said, on the other side of the what if we tried? What if it was the power of yet, which we know the power of yet is we don't know it yet. We don't know how to do this. Something happened to me today, in fact, where I was brought to this moment of, Am I going to act or react? And I remembered our son and thought, wait, I'm going to choose. I don't know this yet. I'm going to bounce and I'm going to pop up like that daisy and like our son as he taught me. So maybe that is it. Perhaps it is what if and then and oh my, what if we sat with it in wonderment? Perhaps.
I love that. It's so important to me to see kids, and I'm just like, there's so much potential, and how can we and do this? And even adults, it's like that idea of just getting up after hard things is it can be hard, but when say like your son, like, just to do it, right? Not let anyone tell them that you can't. That power of that word and the power of language is so important. And as authors, we know that, but I don't think everyone realizes that their own words for themselves matter all the time and telling themselves that they can't.
Yeah,
And
and I sometimes sit with that and think the resilience and the joy that can come with it. And we don't often let joy happen, we stop it. And I've had to come to this awareness of why am I stopping joy? And my answer has been I'm waiting for another something, another bad thing, another person to misrepresent, another word to come plastering on me. So I'm waiting for that. So I'm not allowing joy, but resilience and joy can come together. The first time I laughed after our son survived, and then it happened again, and he had another illness and ongoing disabilities. Well, he was laughing the whole time. He was laughing as the illness came. And what if it is the resilience and the joy and the what if, as we're also sometimes weeping? What if it is that as well? So, resilience and joy, this and that, grief and loss in this part of life. What if it is both? That is what I now wrestle with and sometimes rampage about as I'm walking up and down the halls in my home or wherever I am going, this is nonsense. And then I keep going into it deeper.
that's what we have to do sometimes. I don't think it's wrong to say, "Hey, I'm frustrated. This is not what I want," but then keep going and struggling through it to get to that joy. I love the idea of joy rather than happiness because joy is so much different to me. Joy
Yeah.
is, yeah, it's like that. It's a heartache, it's a sadness, but it's also the joy, the happiness, and the love, and like a wisdom. It's not just knowledge; it's wisdom, and it's not happiness; it's joy. And I love that idea of allowing ourselves to feel that joy at the end of something and be present in that as well because you're right, so often we're like, all right, I made it through that one, and we just brace ourselves for the next one, and
Yeah.
we don't allow ourselves to just enjoy that moment and take that joy with us. So I love that. Tell me then, we've already started talking a little bit about what you write about. What is your book about and why did you write it then?
Yeah. So my book is about our son. It's called The Boy Who Became More Than We Could Imagine. And it talks about for him from the moment of his illness. So he was a typical young child, a typical dude is what we call him because he faced the wind and looked for the fireworks and the kites in the sky. And then he had a sudden illness that I mentioned. So it talks about him, but it's with songs, it's with music, it's with the drumming and the strumming of life, because that's how he lived. He lived with music, he lived with the pulse and the beat. He couldn't hear music and not just go on and just start dancing to it. It was wonderful to watch. So the chapters all talk about parts of his life. If it were his full life, it would be 1,000 pages. I would be the only one to have read it for real. An editor would have been, oh, no, ma'am, no, ma'am. So that's what the book is about. There's really hard parts in it, and there's incredible, joyful, roll your eyes, slapstick humor in it as well. And some people have said this is too much. And I say, turn the page. As in life, let's turn the page and go to where we are. So that's what the book is about. And people asked about a next one. So my next one, I just finished my rough draft. So the next one is about grief and how it changes you and how you're morphed with it as well. So that's the book. I love to share it with others.
And so what did you write it for your son? Did you write it for yourself? Did you write it for others, or was it kind of a therapy? Is there what got you into wanting to share this story? And
Yeah. So the right after our son passed away, the music stopped. So that music that was with us ended. And I couldn't actually listen to music for a number of years. And I share about that. And then it started to roll back into my memories. These stories rolled back in as the music came back to me. So I wrote it because the music came back and it drummed at me and it flowed into my memories loudly,
Mhm.
like it was pulsing the windows again. And so I wrote it because it had to be written. I wasn't writing it for an exact purpose. And then it became purposeful. So I wrote it a chapter at a time, thousands of words. And then I would take my hands off the keys and go, oh, there it is. I had never wanted to be a writer beforehand. I did not know anything about this world, and it wrote itself. I do think there was our son was 6 feet 4, so there was a 6 feet 4 person, being, tall one, we call him, going, "Come on, just get it." And so that's what happened.
that is, I found that too with sometimes, and I've been talking to other authors and stuff. Is like sometimes we feel compelled to write something when we never thought we would, and we don't know what it is, and we just sit down and it just comes out, and that divine or whatever is in it. I love that your son was there, tall one, kind of guiding you through that, and
Yeah.
that is such a beautiful thing for me because like those they need to be told. Who knows who needs them? We don't even know, right? We're just doing it, and then to be able to touch people, even ourselves, and do, I think that is a powerful message right there in and of itself. I also like to ask, who did you read? Who do you read? What inspires you? What is it that literature and stuff like this that you like to invest yourself into when you're reading and stuff as well, or inspires you?
So I actually love biographies as well. I enjoy those. I love the sauciness of them. If people are really into the truth side of it, right now I'm actually reading one by Julia Child. Interestingly, it's hers that she wrote about when they were first in Paris and she was going to cooking school, which she's hilarious, and, I can't cook worth anything at all, so it's somewhat humorous, people are finding that humorous. I also love fiction. I I love fantasy and anything with a dragon. I love dragons. I think they're awesome.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I love that as well. So anything with, Brené Brown,
Mm,
she makes my mind stretch. And Jim Quick. I like Jim Quick. He's a brain
that's
expert.
all.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that you've got this wide genre and that you allow your. I like also you like to let your brain stretch. Sometimes when we're adults, we forget to challenge ourselves that way, and do that. And I love that you're putting yourself into those situations and taking that on as well. I too love dragons and some good sci-fi, and there's something about them. I don't know what it is, if it's the iconic symbolism or whatever it is, but there's just something within us that likes dragons, I think.
I I think they're lovely and hilarious and they can be written in 1,000 ways. So I like to see what authors do with them. And I'm so impressed with fiction that they can keep their characters in order. I can't keep my life in order. So somebody who can do that, I love them.
I'm finding that right now as I'm writing the second book. And I'm like, wait, what did I write in the first book about this character? I need to, and I'm trying to make sure that I don't mess anything up. And I didn't mess it up, but it's sometimes like, in making sure I keeping notes about that so that I'm not messing things up along the way. But
So impressive.
I don't keep my life together either. I don't know how I'm jealous. Yeah. Again, that divine that's just let me help you, let me do it. Yeah. So
Yes, all of that.
is there anything else you'd love to share with us or tell us about or how have others to understand or do before we end our session today?
The thing that I found with what I have come to so far, and I love to learn about things, is that we can share about the hard things. We can share about what your grief is, and grief is more than when somebody is no longer here. So I have actually a bereavement group, and that has become something that people watch. They don't always come into the group and speak, but they are available to us. So my bereavement group is something that's available for people who have had a child pass away after disability, long-term illness, or medical needs. So that has become something that I'm doing now, and people can find me if they would like to on my website, or I'm on social media. Everything can be found under my name, Julia Pearce.
That is amazing. To also take something and you've been writing about it and now to take that out and help others and share that light and to guide through and to help each other with that. I think that's a beautiful thing as well. Our world needs more people helping others and that's amazing and incredible. Well, Julia, thank you so much for being on with me. I really appreciate it. And you guys go and check her out. I'll have all of her links and her things in our description for our episode today. And please join us again on Roundy's Rants, Raves, and Reviews next week. Thank you so much, Julia. I really appreciate it. It was amazing having you on. I love getting to know you even more.
Thank you.